We are not educating our young people for engineering, science, math, technology. We're doing a rotten job, in fact. The rest of the world is doing the job.
In school and around the kids my age, I see that they don't even know what's happening. They feel that energy is just coming from magic. And it scares me that education's not helping and teaching them what's happening.
They are producing the scientists and the engineers and the technology experts. And if we don't do more of the professor know-how work to have students become interested in science, we're going to lose our edge. We've already lost it.
Our generations and generations above always had it better than the previous generation. And this is the first generation that isn't getting that head start where they've got a chance to have it better than us.
What I see today, and I see this mostly in young people, and I look at the economy, I look at our society, and I'm very concerned.
To me, it's the most important thing that we do here in the United States is educating our children for the future.
The passion for science has to come from an early age.
At one time, America had the largest proportion of students in college. We're now 12.
I don't believe that our educational system is providing the practical, technical expertise that's going to allow our country to compete in the global economy.
We don't have to outsource these jobs that we complain about, that we have such a high unemployment rate in the US, because we're outsourcing these jobs to other countries. When we can keep these jobs in this country, we can produce car plants and we can produce factories that our people, our young generation will eventually one day be able to run.
But education doesn't make money. When Jim and Shelly said they would come for free and work with my students, I was ecstatic because Jim and Shelly brought something to my students that I could not do myself.
In looking back at all of this, back to maybe 1994, is probably when I had my first class. It was more or less just teaching kids how things work. And we did summer science camps and garages, and I remember how the kids would wait. They would sit at the curb the second day, hour in the hot sun, waiting just for the class to begin. It was the following year, in 1995, when we visited our very first school, and the idea of the Technology Learning Center was born. I remember our lesson plan back then was called the 5 Ways to Generate Electricity. That lesson plan was the beginning of what many years and lots of kids later would become Professor Know-how's lab. What I remember most about those early years was just how engaged the kids became as they actually got their hands on the various experiments. It made me then understand how much kids really want to learn. They're excited to learn about new things.
These days, science curriculums are taking such a hit in schools, and it's just essential for our kids to understand the world around them and how it works, and particularly with our kids being so engaged in technology from the time they're born, for them to understand where that technology comes from and how it's powered.
I had a student who told me about this incredible lab he had been to, where he got to do all these hands-on experiments.
Professor Know-how does an excellent job of presenting that in a relatable manner so that our kids can digest it, understand it, and be excited about it.
And I made a phone call and talked to Shelly and Jim Phillips, and they said, come on out. And my students spent 3 days here, one grade at a time, and they had the opportunity to be able to experience the lab.
Professor Know-how's lab unlocks the secret inner workings of the gadgets kids use and love every day, and that gives them the knowledge and the confidence to go on and create other things, invent something new. Every adjunct Professor Know-how will be able to take these devices and confidently and securely go into a school and work with the kids, and they will also get the same results repeatedly, time and time again.
This is amazing!
The This is such a great program that's worthy of donating to, because we've got to get this out to every middle school.
It definitely can be mass-produced. I think that the system that they have is still working with small groups of students. And the idea of going into a school and having the students come out during study hall or after school, it's not going to interfere with the other important classes that they are taking in school.
These volunteers who will become the Professor Know-Hows aren't competing with the teachers. They're adding to the program. And we can't expect a teacher to be able to do all that they do in the short amount of time that they have. To be able to ignite these passions and ignite these interests in every subject and in every concept. These people who are experts in their field can do that. And I do believe if they're excited about learning about science and they see what learning can do, it's going to follow through to math and language arts and social studies. It makes them want to learn.
When my students came here to this lab, they had an interest in technology, but they really didn't know how anything worked. And what the professor did is he was able to teach the students underlying principles that make these things work. And then what I love to see with the kids is once they understood those basic principles, all of a sudden the light bulbs go off and they go, oh, so that's how this works and how this works. And all of a sudden you get a kid who didn't know very much, but has some interest, and you give them these basic principles and it's fire. All these other ideas start to come up for them. And to me, that's what real science really is taking what you learn and then applying it to other things.
Doing the Professor Know-How version in Spanish was an honor and a privilege. And it was so important to be able to reach the students who make up, a huge portion of our country. The implications are really profound for the future, and if we can teach these kids in these really important areas in math and science, the possibilities are endless, really.
Le presento al Professor Know-How. Él sabe que a los niños les encanta la ciencia, especialmente cuando se presenta de manera práctica, interactiva y divertida.
The great thing about this program is it institutionalizes it, exposing kids early on to how things work. So imagine how many more Steve Jobs could come out of a program like this. I think it's brilliant. I think getting all of our kids exposed to this is going to have a dramatic impact on the developmental capabilities of our kids and the people that are going to be in important positions, inventing things, running companies. It's going to have a very important, dramatic impact on our economy in the future.
I hear people say that I give someone who works for me 10 things to do, and when they finish the 10th thing, I think they should be able to figure out the 11th thing on their own, and they can't. If all you do is teach to the test, then you have students that don't maybe have the opportunity to be taught how to think.
Technology Learning Center, what it did for my daughter was it raised a spark and a thought for science. It was hands-on, it was learn in your own time, learning and listening, and she came back really fired up, said how much she loved it, how much she understood a lot of the concepts and how electricity was created. These are things that she would not have learned in school, but she learned it with Professor Know-How.
If schools actually had Professor Know-How to teach their kids hands-on, like when we walked in the first day, we did not want to learn science during summer. But once we went into the science lab and we actually had the hands-on experience, and it was fun. And so if more kids knew and understood the hands-on experience and really understood how things worked and how the professor would teach them, it would change our generation.
Technology Learning Center helped me see that the environment needs help, but also how to do it, and that it's not that hard, and that little steps can make a big difference. If everyone my age had this car, had an electric car, and like how much cleaner the air would be, how much we would not have to depend on foreign oil or anything. Just the future would be so much better.
It was really an engaging process. So when you actually get hands-on, it's like that little thing that clicks in your head and you're like, I actually get this.
In order for this program to happen, We need private citizens, companies, businesses to donate the resources to make it happen. It is something that it should not be for selfish reasons. It will help them and our country continue to keep pace with the rest of the world.
Jim's idea and passion behind providing support to middle school children to really energize them in the field of science and mathematics, and his ideas seem very well grounded and well thought out, and so it was really a blessing for us to be able to provide support to help him.
When I saw the project, I liked what I saw. I responded to it. I thought you were going to do something that would contribute. I feel good about it. I feel I've contributed.
That science has to be lively. Kids have to use their hands to see the actual science in front of them. And we've got to do far more than we have been doing.
And seeing where the United States is heading in terms of losing out some of our innovative pace to other countries, I fear for where we'll be 50 years from now. Will other countries outpace us in innovation? Will our kids 50 years from now even understand technological principles if our economy is not running in the United States on science-based, technology-based products and programs?
If we don't fix this issue, if we don't do a better job of educating our kids, it's going to have a dramatic impact on our society, our culture, and our economy. It's going to put us in a position where we're not going to be able to compete in the global economy.
We have so many issues coming up, whether it's global warming or another way we cannot depend on the Middle East for fuel. We need to ignite that passion so that they can want to go and fix these things. You can't just wait and say, yeah, when we have money, we'll do that program. You can't. You have to do it now because later's already here.